For more on this, I'm joined by Scott Lucas, Professor of International Politics at the Clinton Institute at the University of Dublin. Scott, as always, thank you so much for joining me. I just want to start. So we got this tranche of Epstein files today, 11,000 pages. And it was interesting. The DOJ says that some of the latest documents released from the Epstein files contained untrue and sensationalist claims made about President Trump. Why was this statement released?
Because it's political spin for damage control. I mean, it's always best to go to the facts as we know them that come out. So out of the latest tranche of files, when it comes to Trump, first of all, it is established factually that Trump was on Jeffrey Epstein's airplane 8 times in the 1990s. On one occasion, he and Epstein were on there, and the only other passenger was a 20-year-old woman. And prosecutors said that at least 2 potential witnesses in a future case against Jeffrey Epstein, against Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's associate, were also present. So that doesn't establish that Trump was involved in any criminal activity, but it does establish he had proximity to either victims or to witnesses to what Epstein was doing. Secondly, there is an exchange between Epstein and the disgraced U.S. Gymnastics team Dr. Larry Nassar, who was convicted of sexual abuse, talking about, like us, Donald Trump likes young, nubile girls. Their quote, young, nubile girls, and also making a reference to Trump's very lewd practice of accosting women, something we knew about from the Access Hollywood tape. So again, it doesn't prove criminal activity, but that reference to young, nubile girls is troubling. And then what may be most important is the files that disappeared. Last night, the Justice Department initially released the files and then they withdrew them after only a few hours. But a couple of news organizations downloaded them in that time. And there were documents that referred to memoranda after Epstein's death in 2019 by prosecutors. These documents, 7-page document, considered charges against co-conspirators who may have been involved in Epstein's crimes. That was updated in December of 2019 with an 85-page document. There was a 13-page document about possible corporate charges, and there was a 26-page document about a particular target who might be charged. Now, we don't have the actual memoranda themselves, but the references to these memoranda establishes they do exist, and they back up the claims, for example, the Republican Representative Thomas Massey, that there may be 20 men who are named in these files who have so far escaped prosecution.
So, Scott, this is a very complicated argument at the moment when it comes to the Epstein files. Donald Trump has always said that he is innocent. And we've, of course, seen many men, high-profile ones, Bill Clinton himself. We've seen countless figures. No. So what I think is the big question here is how much would this damage Donald Trump's reputation and those men featured in those files, like Bill Gates, like Bill Clinton, like Trump himself, because it's very difficult to know if they knew anything.
I think you're absolutely right to establish that the files do not establish, from what we've seen so far, the connection of any of these high-profile men to Jeffrey Epstein's activities. The issue at the moment is whether, in fact, we are getting the transparency and the accountability that the victims deserve. The Justice Department was required by law to release these documents last Friday. It did not do so. It is required within 15 days to give an explanation of the redactions, the blackouts in the documents. It has not provided any explanation for any of the redactions or any context for what they've released. In some cases, documents have been entirely redacted, such as an important grand jury document in 2019 from the New York prosecution of Jeffrey Epstein. There is a 60-count felony document which has not been released, and an 85-page document of evidence behind that indictment, which has not been released. We're getting a drip feed of documents, but we have suspicions. Are we being given everything? And those suspicions are coming from the victims themselves. And this has been compounded by the initial release, the initial handling of this, as you show some of these photos. The White House is keen to get the media to focus on the celebrity photographs, which you are seeing here. Look at Bill Gates, look at Mick Jagger, look at Michael Jackson, look especially at Bill Clinton. 2 Justice Department officials lied on social media that the photographs of Clinton showed that he might be involved in criminal activity. That photo you're showing right now, they said it was of Michael Jackson and Bill Clinton with children. It was not. It was Bill Clinton and Michael Jackson with Michael Jackson's children, a completely innocent photograph. So it's the spin and the potential cover-up that is troubling at this point. Again, not primarily for Donald Trump's reputation, but for the question of whether victims will ever get the transparency and accountability they deserve from whomever was involved in the crimes against them.
And it's really interesting that we're talking right now because all day on Twitter, I'm sure you've seen it, the hashtag Trump Epstein cover-up has been trending, and people are saying exactly what you are saying right now to me. So I'm guessing you believe this is a cover-up. And does the redaction that we are seeing, like you say, all of a sudden things have been redacted, they've gone missing, does this create more conspiracy theories out there? And also, you know, when Donald Trump ran for his presidency the second time round, he did say we were going to be a different government. We were going to be transparent. We were going to tell you the truth. So I guess what does this do for all his supporters?
I think that's the important political question, in that he promised during 2024 that all the files would be released. His Attorney General Pam Bondi said they were on her desk in February being reviewed.
And then they went missing. We never heard about them again, did we?
Exactly. And now what you have is the fact is this isn't a question of left versus right or Democrats versus Republicans. There are some Republicans who joined Democrats to force this last month with the bill that demands the release of the documents. So what you have are a lot of people who have supported Donald Trump, but at the same time, they believe these files were going to come out, especially that they might find that there were Democrats in the files. And when they don't come out, they have a choice. Do they continue to support their man, Donald Trump, or do they support transparency? Do they support the need to get some type of justice in this case? And I think that's going to be the political question, which is going to affect Trump's base going into 2026.
Yeah, Scott Lucas, I think we're going to be talking about the story for a lot longer because it's extremely interesting. Thank you so much for your thoughts on that. Appreciate it.